vocabulary around the topic of fashion. Here is our list. Up first we have trend, and then must have, classic, vintage, accessories, fashion icon, style, and comfort. Let's move on to our first piece of vocabulary, which is trend. A trend, when used in the sense of fashion, is a style or a type of clothing that has quickly become very popular. It's true that trends often don't stick around for a long time, and generally they may only last a few weeks to a few years, and then they will vanish and possibly come back later. Let's take a look at some examples. I don't really follow trends too much. I prefer to wear my own style of clothes. A very popular new trend is wearing denim clothes. So there we have trend, a very popular and new style. Next up we have must have. Now this is an expression, a phrase that is used to talk about a new piece of clothing or an accessory like a bag or a coat that is very popular. Everybody wants it. It is must have. I bought a new bag that my friend said is a must have item. There are many fashion magazines that review the newest must-have clothes. So there you have a very native sounding expression. Now we'll take a look at classic. Classic can be used in a few different ways, but when applied to the topic of fashion, it means something that has never stopped being in fashion. It still looks as good now as it did a long time before. Many older people prefer to wear classic and timeless clothes. A suit is a real classic piece of clothing that can be worn for formal events. Next up is vintage. Vintage is a style of clothes that looks like a style from 2, 3, 4, 5 decades before. So it's a clothes style that was popular a long time before that people are wearing now. I believe that vintage clothes are some of the most interesting and stylish. At my local market, there is a great shop with vintage second-hand clothes. And here's another extra expression you can use, a second hand. When you buy something, whether it's clothes, cars, anything else, if it is used already, you can say it is second hand. Okay, that's all for vintage. Let's move on to accessories. Accessories are smaller or extra parts of clothing that people wear, such as a bag or a ring or an earring or a necklace or a bracelet. These are all considered accessories. People should feel confident to wear accessories that they feel look nice. Men wear a lot less accessories than many women. Here is this phrase that is fashion icon. When describing somebody who is very influential in fashion, you can call them a fashion icon. I don't really have a fashion icon that I look up to for new fashion ideas. Kate Moss is considered a major fashion icon who has influenced clothing worldwide. And here we have style, quite simply style. It's wearing types of clothing and expressing yourself through fashion. I don't often think too much about what style of clothes I wear. My mother wears a lot of very timeless clothes, and I really like her style. So here highlighted is the word timeless. When you are talking about somebody's clothes that never go out of fashion, they would look good now and a long time before, you can say those clothes are timeless. Okay, that's all for style. Let's move on to our last piece of vocabulary, which is comfort. Comfort is a measure of how nicely a piece of clothing fits you and makes you feel. Let's take a look at some examples. In my opinion, the most important thing about clothes are their comfort. Over 45% of employed males in the city felt that comfort was the most important factor in buying clothes. And there's an example from a Task 1 IELTS writing report. So that brings us to the end of our IELTS essential vocabulary for fashion. Fashion is a pretty common topic in either of the IELTS test parts. So it's good to have a nice bank of interesting, expressive vocabulary. See you in the next lesson.